We'd like to introduce the WhiteBox tools, but first I want to show you how to do a slightly different display in your elevation data that looks a bit nicer. So here's a driftless area DEM from southeast Minnesota I've displayed, and it comes in the usual pseudo-color gray. I can right-click and go to Properties, and then in the Properties in the symbology, instead of a single band gray, go to single band pseudo-color. And over here on the edge, I have to expand the window a little to show it. If I left-click on this downward caret, I can go create a new color ramp. Now, I'm not actually creating a color ramp. I'm going to select this catalog CPT City and say OK. And I get a bunch of color ramps. And remember, I can scroll up and down here on the right or left, and there's a whole list. If I'm doing topography, as I am here, it subsets the list to those that are most relevant, and there's a bunch I can pick, and I have to remember that I can scroll up and down to get different sets. And down at the bottom, there's one here that I like. It's this wiki one, has a longer name, the Schwarzwald continuous, and so I'll say OK, and I'll apply that. And then you can see I get a slightly different color ramp that shows the elevations better. It's more akin to what we see in paper maps or in a lot of visual displays. And we can do another thing to improve the quality of the map or the rendition of the terrain. And I'll go create a hillshade. And again, down in the WhiteBox tools that I've added in the geomorphometric analysis, it's a tongue twister, I'll do the hillshade. So if I double left click, I get this hillshade tool. And I'm just going to accept, for brevity's sake, the defaults here, and I'm going to save it to a temporary file because I don't really need this in the long term. And when I click run, you see I get a hillshade, but it's completely covered or hidden my DEM that's below it, but it shows nice detail here, which is great. I want to combine the two. So if I right click on this hillshade output and go to the properties, I can see it's a grayscale, and I'm fine with that. If I go to the transparency, though, I can, with this top slider, reduce the opacity, the thickness of it, if you will. And I can apply that and then say OK. And you can see now I get both the shadow effect from the hillshade and the color effect from that custom terrain coloration that I put in the symbology. And those two together create a nice, pleasing view.